Welcome to part 3 of this 4-part mystery series. We're diving deeper into the discovery of an intriguing envelope addressed to Miss Ruth S. Moxey, a late 19th and early 20th century investigator from Woodbury, Connecticut. Her work centered on eugenics, a now discredited ideology that sought to shape society through selective reproduction. If you're new to this series, check out the intro video tagged below to catch up. In short, Martin wrote a report on Intermarriage of blood relatives in 3 old New England communities. Martin references 3 mysterious towns, Town X, Town Y, and Town Z, but never reveals their actual names. All we know is that they're located somewhere in New England. In this video, I aim to figure out where Town Y is located. This is what Martin wrote about it in 1921. In sharp contrast to this town of X is the town of Y in another state, yet also seaboard in its location. Tradition says, and town records, insofar as their incompleteness testify, point to the truth of tradition, that the first settlers of the prevailing surnames were a group composed of a certain wandering, roistering, loafing, seagoing helper on fishing vessels coming from somewhere south. His coarse, feeble-minded primitive wife and certain relatives or pals of theirs who came with them to this port. Some tales have it that this man was an ex-convict. This hermit inlet where they could fish, dig clams, get out and in with small boats, gather berries inland, loaf generally, and still manage to exist suited them exactly. To this lotus land they gradually attracted people of their own sort, not too many others, for they jealously guarded a spot where they could make a living so easily, and if too many had come in, they might have had to bestir themselves. The berry fields would not have been inexhaustible. One of the field workers' chief sources of information was the local station agent. Not that the community itself has a railroad. No, indeed, but some miles from the dwellings is the stop at which you arrive by train and from which you must journey afoot or by conveyance of your own provision to reach the actual group of cabins and hovels of Y. In charge at this depot is one of the men who is by blood, birth, and residence a man of Y. His only claim to exemption is some brains, a reasonable honesty, and probably more from his job than though his not-to-be-coveted heritage, an ability to meet a stranger with a degree of frankness. He says, "They are all my kith and kin, but to tell you truth, if I want to keep anything overnight, I don't leave it in my backyard nor anywhere but under lock and key in my own house." This seemed to him to stand out as a marked trait of this community composed of his kinsfolk. Field work in the town, including calls on a minister and a doctor who lived on the outskirts, confirmed this statement. Petty thieving, or better stated, an utter disregard of property rights, save out of fear of the owner's fist, was a glaringly evident trait. The doctor who ministered to their bodies, though seldom, as he said, "It's their heads mostly. Those can't be fixed and they don't care to have them," was communicative. They are, as a town, he averred, amazingly free, considering their unmorality, from venereal disease. He believed that was because they mostly kept to themselves, not mingling much even with the lowest of the towns about. Incest was not unknown. Mating of close relatives frequent and general. Matings without benefit of clergy common. Promiscuity in sex relations before marriage from puberty on very general. And shifting about on consorts after marriage not at all astonishing. A handful of surnames, the same ones, as town records show, from the colonial times to the present day, have been the chief and almost the sole ones of the town. This, in itself, proves intermarriage has been the rule. These names in larger towns about are almost without fail the most frequent on pauper lists. If they don't work at one place or one way, they do another. Some of the younger ones aged from 20 to 30 do work at times, but after 30 years or so, their manner of life, their feeble-mindedness, their unstable physiques, their willingness to set about show. They look like old men and women. They have no trolley, they trudge in all weathers when trudging must be done, no electricity, no water save a few wells and brooks that run to the sea. They never have an abundance of food. They seldom have enough. They prefer hunger to work, and possibly they think little of a meal time save when hunger calls. Their sex appetite is appeased from adolescence on, and early in life they are learned in this love. They are not especially immoral, but markedly unmoral. They respond to their sex desires, which are noticeably unsuppressed, as naturally and freely as any animal. Physicians who attend them grant sex activity is, for the community as a whole, one of their few interests. Save for a few who seem exceptionally oversexed, especially erotic, they do not appear to take an indecent attitude toward this part of their lives. Whether or not intermarriage has increased the degeneracy of this stock, it has kept it true to type through many generations. The pauper list of the town has, as far back as records goes, been almost unbelievable for the size of population. In surrounding towns, a byword for generations. No doubt Y is hopeless. It will in time accomplish its own extermination, yet the town is a menace to the country, for it is true that annually a few of the prettier girls or the less feeble-minded boys do drift out into the surrounding towns and marry. Wherever they go, their traits hold true, and the menace is especially great in instances where a reasonably eugenic New England man sets aside his feeling about Y and marries a pretty Y girl. This girl practically always bears the man a large family of children, and in few instances are they other than true descendants of Y, feeble mentally, moron at the most. Initially, when I encountered the term lotus land, I assumed it referred to regions where lotus plants grew. Instead, it is a metaphor derived from Alfred Lord Tennyson's 1832 poem, The Lotos Eaters, inspired by the Odyssey. It describes a place of idleness and stagnation, where people live passively, indulging in pleasures without ambition or engagement in wider society. In researching Town Y, I excluded Massachusetts since I had confirmed Town X was located there. Instead, I focused on identifying states that met the following criteria. Cultivated clams, had berry fields, contained cabins and hovels miles from a train stop. 2 states fit: Maine and Rhode Island. Maine has a long tradition of clam fishing, with coastal towns such as Wells, Georgetown, and Essex serving as notable clamming sites. Down east, Maine was known for wild blueberries, with remote fishing villages, scattered cabins, and limited infrastructure. Some isolated rural communities in Maine historically exhibited intermarriage. Historical records suggest that Georgetown, Maine may have had a higher rate of intermarriage compared to Wells and Essex. Genealogical sources indicate that certain families remain prominent in Georgetown, with repeated marriages among local surnames. In South County, Rhode Island, quahog harvesting and berry farming were common, with some coastal communities remaining isolated well into the 19th century. However, while intermarriage occurred in small, insular populations, it was not widespread across the state. Some fishing villages and farming communities maintain close-knit family structures, resulting in repeated unions among the same surnames over generations. However, Rhode Island's maritime economy and industrial growth encourage population movement and diversity, reducing the likelihood of extreme isolation compared to Maine. While the exact location of Town Y remains uncertain, Georgetown, Maine appears to be the strongest possibility.